Hey, good morning, everybody. Robert Phoenix here, broadcasting to you live once again from Fredericksburg, Texas, the heart of the hill country. The heart of the hill country. I love the hill country. I've shared this story once before, but I'll share it again. Many years ago, my first time traveling to Texas via my van, I was driving around the country doing tarot readings back in the summer of '96, and I was on my way from Taos, New Mexico to Austin via van. Morning, Jude. And I remember driving through this really interesting, cool little town. I'm thinking, wow, this place looks really interesting and cool. I wonder what it'd be like to live in a cool little interesting town like this. 'Cause I've always liked small, kind of interesting little towns. And hi, Beth. Hi, Ani. And that town happened to be Fredericksburg. And so here I am, many, many years later, living in that small little interesting town. As you can see, the owl is still in the process of illumination. This must be a very powerful experience for our friend the owl. And it's the red light down at the first chakra, second chakra is still on too. So there's a lot going on there, right? As above, so below, from the root to the fruit. Morning, Justice. Ani, I lived up in Taos years ago. I was there in 1996. I had a very interesting time in Taos. Spent about 3 weeks there hanging out, doing tarot readings, bonding with the locals. It was a cool time, good time, really, really good time. So, what's happening, everyone? There's Rhonda Reynolds, double R, bright and early. How's everybody feeling today? Hope everybody's taking care of themselves, making sure their immune system is as amped up and fortified as it can be. I've got another story to read you today about the flu and the flu shot. 99 to 01. Taos is an interesting place, you know. Taos is one of one of those places. If you're meant to be there, it'll open up. It'll work for you. If you're not meant to be there, it'll kick your ass. Like you got to humble yourself when you go to Taos. You can't go into Taos thinking you're going to be, a rock star. You're gonna set the town on fire. Ain't gonna happen. The pueblos there. Where the Ansazi lived, right? Those dwellings, you got to get on your knees to crawl into those places. That's kind of like the metaphor for Taos. It's the mountain. It's a powerful place, man. Very powerful. If you come correct in Taos, you'll have a really supportive time. Another place that's like this is Hawaii. Hawaii is, to me, about as close as it gets to a living, sort of breathing, dream generating matrix environment, which is why I believe that James Cameron um, uh, did a lot of work there, shot a lot of movies there. Hawaii is a very, very powerful place. Very powerful place. I had a great experience living up in the forest and the mountains. It's good to have great experiences in life, isn't it? I think having great experiences is really, really important. Yeah, Hawaii. Hawaii is one of those places where if you have any kind of hubris, pride, or arrogance, that island is going to take you down. Right? It's just going to take you down. James Cameron shot Avatar there, and there's a reason why he shot Avatar in Hawaii. He could have shot Avatar in Australia or New Zealand or any area that would provide kind of an Avatar. Well, here's what they did. So the crew did a lot of the stuff in Hawaii, the cast rather, and I think they shot some stuff in Hawaii. So, of course, a lot of that was ultimately animated, right? Yeah. So, but he did it because he understood the nature of the consciousness of Hawaii. If you're not If you're not coming correct in Hawaii, Hawaii will spit you out right back to the mainland or wherever else you came from. Let's see what else we got happening in the old chat room today. Hawaiian Islands are the mountain peaks of Lemuria. That's right. Hawaii is an outpost of Lemuria, which is why the consciousness there is alive. It's totally alive. And Cameron knows that. And that was sort of the narrative, right? That was the narrative for Avatar. Interesting movie, Avatar. Very interesting movie. There's some stuff around Avatar that people don't get. You know, the sort of the other narrative with Avatar is that the people that are on Pandora, right, the planet, they're linked into a mainframe. Like Pandora isn't just like this Lemurian sort of, you know, kind of living matrix. Pandora actually has kind of an Atlantean sort of vibe to it too, right? Because everything seems to be, I wouldn't say cyber, but it's a very, very close representation to being this kind of cyber reality where there's this interesting sort of collision between this Atlantean technological consciousness and this Lemurian sort of uh, primal, instinctual consciousness. You know, because with the mother tree, the mother tree is like a massive mainframe computer. And you know, when the Pandorans jump on their flying dragon horses, what are they doing? They're literally plugging in, right? They're plugging in like you know, with fiber optics into these creatures. And there's a part early in the movie where Sigourney Weaver's character is talking about how you know the roots, or there's something running through the planet which is akin to kind of a computerized analogy. So if you pay close attention to the movie Avatar, it's this fusion between this sort of technological Atlantean consciousness where these people can plug into this kind of primal mainframe, which is this Lemurian overlay. Cameron's an interesting character. He's getting up there now. Well, what's he, 64? 64. He's working on Avatar 2 and then Avatar 3 and 4. So he's got 3 more avatars all planned, wound up, and ready to go for us. All right. What else is happening in the chat room today? It's a very systems theory movie. Yes. Sometimes we have to pay our bills with unobtainium. I like that. So we got Pocahontas. Anyway, hey, welcome everybody. So we're going to go over what's happening today or the latest incident in Paris or France. And apparently there was a quote unquote terror event. Oh, when things get hot and heavy, let's roll out the terror event because that will get people's attention and somehow bleed into what's happening on the streets, which will then allow more of a police and military presence, shut things down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is from Zero Hedge. I'm going to read it to you. 3 dead, 12 wounded in Strasbourg terrorist attack. Shooter reportedly fled scene in taxi. Well, it's a good thing he didn't flee the scene in an Uber. Uber would have a serious branding problem. Update 4. Things are getting stranger as the suspect in Tuesday's shooting at a Christmas market in Strasbourg remains at large. Face Info is reporting that the injured suspect made his getaway in a taxi that he robbed, which could explain why police have had such a hard time finding him. So there were 3 people killed and 12 wounded. All right. 12 is always an interesting number, isn't it? Seems to come up a lot. The death toll currently stands at 3, according to Interior Minister Christophe Castaner. However, 2 police union officials reported 4 victims earlier. Officials did not explain the conflicting figures. The primary suspect in the Strasbourg shooting is reportedly still at large, more than an hour after initial reports claiming he had been cornered by police. Latest reports indicate that he is still on the run. Some reports claim that they don't know where the suspect is, contradicting earlier reports that he'd been cornered. Meanwhile, some reports suggest that the police are investigating the possibility of a second shooter. That's according to the Telegraph. Here's the quote. According to Strasbourg Town Hall, another operation is taking place at Place Broglie or Place Broglie. There is strong suspicion that a second person may be implicated in the shooting, police sources told Le Figaro. Though the shooter's identity has yet to be confirmed, screenshots of social media profiles belonging to Sharif Shakat, who we identified earlier, are circulating on Twitter. Okay. So he's got a Facebook account. Looks like he is anti-Israel. Let's see. So it says he has 46 friends, many of whom are in Strasbourg, France. I went through the friends list and found Hatem Hamzaoui, who is an anti-Semite. Meanwhile, access to 2 local highways, the A35 and the RN4, has been cut off, and security along Strasbourg's border with Germany has been stepped up. This is update. Let's see. So update 4 is what we just got. Let's go back to update 2. We're going back in time. Mercury's not retrograde, but we're going backwards here. Agence France Presse reports that the shooter is a 29-year-old robbery suspect who is to be arrested early this morning when police arrived at his home. They discovered explosives, according to the AP. The shooter was reportedly born in Strasbourg and recently wound up on a terror watch list after frequenting the radical Islamist circles in the city. The AP has confirmed at least 4 are now dead. Now it's 4. Unconfirmed reports that put the number of wounded as high as 14. Now we're at 14, originally 12. The wire service also reported that soldiers guarding the market managed to shoot the suspect before he fled. Police have reportedly cornered the shooter, and a shootout is currently underway. Well, did that really happen? No. Or maybe it did, and maybe they're keeping the shooter up. Who knows? Who knows? But I'm telling you, something happened in Strasbourg. So there's the photo. It's going through Twitter, right? The alleged shooter. The French Minister of the Interior warned that the shootout, the suspect is still ongoing, to warn people living nearby not to leave their homes. There have been reports of shots ringing out in Strasbourg. What else do we have here? More horrifying videos of the scene. So at least 4 dead, 11 injured, terrorists on the run, wounded. Here's the first update. According to the latest AFP report, the shooting, which has at least 2 dead, is being treated as a terrorist attack. So we've gone back in time. We started with the most recent and going into the initial update. This is worth reading here. After the shooting, the city is now on total lockdown, with police armed and machine guns on the street and people taking cover in bars and restaurants. Security officials have cordoned off the market area, and all trams have been stopped, according to reports from the scene. Access to city center was blocked for pedestrians, cyclists, and road traffic. About 3 blocks from the Khyber main square, the European Parliament in Strasbourg activated its emergency protocol. It was in lockdown with the orders: no one goes in, no one goes out. That's going to happen in Paris. Okay, so they roll. Do you think this is random? You think all of a sudden some guy just decided, oh, let me go out there today and let me go shoot 4 people and let me go wound about 13 between 12 and 14 others. Do you think he really just decided to go out and do this today? The answer unequivocally is no. This guy is probably an agent. He probably works for likely the Mossad, who have a very strong presence in Paris. And this was done to essentially create some friction, some strain, and introduce a new element into what's going on in Paris with the yellow vests and the ongoing protests. Right? This will allow the French to bring more police, military onto the streets, actually call for martial law, and make sure that nobody is out theoretically protesting. Now, remember, the French people have the numbers. The challenge with a protest like this, or the challenge with, so there's the initial movement, there's energy, and then there's a buildup. There's a buildup to numbers, there's momentum. And at a certain point in time, that energy is dissipated. We don't know when that certain point in time is. It's usually when the momentum stops. In order for an event like this to accrue momentum or gain momentum, more and more people have to be a part of it. And if you've got places in the country that are in some form of lockdown, they're not going to be a part of it. They're going to be in their houses because they think that some madman is running around with explosives and a gun waiting to, terminate their existence. So this is an interesting wrinkle, and it certainly feels like a staged event, a psychological operation, which could open the door to more police presence. So we've got the holidays coming up here, Christmas, which I think Macron is becoming a firm believer in, because likely he's not. He's one of the he's part of Lou's gang, right? And but he's eagerly looking forward to Christmas because that's when some of the heat can come off this thing. So it bears witnessing, and it bears paying attention to, because there's still a lot going on. And now we have the no vote of confidence for Theresa May. Did it really take him that long? I mean, the no vote of confidence should have come like a month, 2 months, maybe three months max after she took over and was single-handedly, she was appointed to single-handedly derail Brexit. That's why she was there. That's why she was put into power. Stall, obfuscate, dither, dally, do whatever it takes. Let this thing just continue to go on and on and on and on until finally nothing ever really happens. And if it does happen, it'll be a watered down and impotent version of whatever it is they were trying to do in the first place, and still be beholden to the EU. It's exactly what the plan was. It's exactly what the plan was. See, there's no accountability. There's no accountability. The leaders in these countries get away literally with murder, malfeasance. Malfeasance it's like the inability to make something happen, which is really just kind of a cover for conscious malfeasance. So it's like, oh, okay, we're bumbling, we're stumbling, we're just kind of moving things along, but it's a concerted effort to cloak a certain type of malfeasance. That's what it is. There's no accountability, none whatsoever, which is why the Q thing, I think, for a lot of people really caught fire. It's like, oh, great. There's going to be finally some accountability. People want accountability. People have been waiting for accountability for a long time. I think the last time the people got anybody that even remotely seemed to be accountable for what they did, I think, was probably Bernie Madoff, right? And there's even some question as to whether or not Bernie Madoff is even in jail. And that Bernie Madoff had a back door. I think he supposedly died in jail or something like that. Is that right? Bernie Madoff. I think what's going on with Madoff? I need to just because I always found it hard to believe that Madoff would be a lot, that he would actually spend any real jail time. No, his kid is dead. Well, he's still alive. I don't think he's in jail though. I think he's out. I think Madoff. They put him in. They put him in high security, but I think he had a back door. That's my 2 cents. Oh, look, he's in the news. How about this? There's Bernie Madoff news. Bernie Madoff's unlikely investor contribution. Whistleblowers. People still don't realize the reality of Bernie Madoff. He made off with a lot of people's money. That's one of those matrix tricks, right? I think his kid is dead. I think it's Mark Madoff. I think that guy is dead. Let me just check here. It's hard to keep up. Yeah, he died on 12/11. Yesterday was the anniversary of Mark Madoff's death. He was born March 11 and he died December 11, which is a complete square to his son. That 90-degree angle to his son. Interesting. Yeah, so he's gone. Mark Madoff's gone. He was one of the people that was instrumental in getting the old man to turn himself in. I don't think he's in jail. I think Madoff got backdoored a long time ago. Just like I don't think Kenneth Lay ever died. That was so convenient, wasn't it? So convenient. Just as everything's getting ramped up with Enron, Kenneth Lay supposedly has a heart attack. As soon as he had that supposed heart attack, I knew he was gone. He's probably living in South America somewhere. That's how this shit works. Anyway, so you keep your eye on what's going on in France. There's going to be a momentum crisis at some point. But I think the French are determined people. There's this meme going around about how the French are not fluoridated. Now, I'll tell you one thing about Europe and fluoridation. The Europeans got tricky, right? Their salt is fluoridated. They put fluoride in the salt in a number of countries in Europe. So while their water is not fluoridated, which is true, in many places, the salt is. So I think on some level, there are a number of countries in Europe that are still getting fluoride. It's not just getting pumped through the water, but there's this meme going on right now, being passed around that that the reason why the French people are protesting is because they don't have fluoride in the water, that they're not passive. They're not just laying down. They don't have their pineal glands calcified. But apparently, and I've heard this rumor as well, that they're putting oxytocin into the dairy products in Europe. So if you get cheese or milk, you're getting oxytocin added to it. And oxytocin wants to make you friendly. And it's like, oh, Muslims, we love you. Please. Migrants, we love you. Let me have some more of this wonderful cheese, this wonderful butter. It makes me feel so good. Come, please. Our house is your house. It's just a one of those dark rumors that one hears every now and then. So there's some good news in the world. I'm going to save that to the end. This does have to do, this next story I'm going to read to you here. This is a reminder, just another reminder of not taking that flu shot. I'm going to put this up. This is a really powerful image here. This is from the Free Thought Project. I'm going to drop this into the chat room. You guys could have a look at this. Let's see. Chris and Steve says, wish there was MDMA in our H2O. That would be a trip, wouldn't it? So here we go. This is Trees in May. That's funny. I like that. Trees in May. Another terrifying tale of the flu shot here. Nevada man blinded, paralyzed, and nearly died after getting flu shot. I put the link in the chat room so you guys can actually look at what happened to this poor fellow. Las Vegas, Nevada, as Americans enter another flu season, the question of whether to get this year's flu shot hangs in the air for many, and the dismal success rate of last year's vaccine serves as a major deciding factor. Another factor which is undoubtedly influencing the decisions of Americans in whether or not to get the flu shot is the fact that some people experience adverse reactions. Well, we had a guy from New York who was a congressman from New York and had his own political action group and the whole 9 yards. He's dead. Well, Shane Morgan, add him to the list. He's one of those people. While we have everyone from attorneys to biologists to political scientists who write for the Free Thought Project, none of us are doctors. So we do not make recommendations about what you and your family should do in regards to vaccination. It is important to note, however, that this information is seldom reported in mainstream media, which is why we find it necessary to report. Morgan, like millions of other Americans, was vaccinated against the influenza virus in November. However, within 36 hours of receiving the shot, he began experiencing symptoms of the flu. About 36 hours after he got the flu shot, he started to get sick, said Mr. Morgan's wife, Monique. After staying in bed for a week at his house, Morgan did not improve. In fact, things got far worse. He had to be admitted to the emergency room, ICU. Right? My eyes wouldn't focus on stuff, said Morgan said. I thought it was my inner ears sickness that I had. Oh, inner ear sickness. What? Vertigo, right? That's what he's talking about. But now, when they have the inner ear sickness, everybody's got Meniere's now. Meniere's is when the rocks, these little rocks in your ear get displaced. Trust me, Meniere's is very, very hard to come by. The numbers of people experiencing Meniere's doesn't match. So he already had something going on, the inner ear sickness. I got up to use the bathroom and I realized I couldn't walk. My legs were like rubber. My hands were totally numb. Morgan was now experiencing symptoms far worse than the actual flu, and he was partially paralyzed. He's like, I can't feel my legs. I need you to take me to the emergency room, said Mrs. Morgan. Hours after being admitted to the ICU, Morgan was placed on life support. Holy shit. Including a ventilator and a feeding tube. While in intensive care, Morgan was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is becoming more and more common, by the way. According to the CDC, side effects of the flu vaccine are generally mild and go away on their own within a few days. Common side effects of the flu include soreness, redness, and/or swelling from the shot, headache, fever, nausea, and muscle aches. Other less common side effects, however, include fainting and, like what happened to Mr. Morgan, Guillain-Barré syndrome. According to the CDC, Guillain-Barré syndrome is an autoimmune disorder in which the immune system mistakenly attacks the peripheral nervous system, the network of nerves located outside the brain and the spinal cord, resulting in muscle weakness, sometimes paralysis, and breathing difficulties, which in rare cases may lead to death. Although most people recover from GBS, some retain residual symptoms such as excessive fatigue, sensory disturbances, muscle weakness, and chronic pain. Morgan is now experiencing that pain. The pain is excruciating, Morgan said. It's just dumb luck. I have an immune system that does not like what's in that vaccine. No, Mr. Morgan, it's not dumb luck. It's the fact that I hate to say you were dumb for taking the vaccine. It's not dumb luck. There's no such thing. I guess there could be some dumb luck out there somewhere. If you find some dumb luck, let me know. It's not dumb luck. In addition to seasonal influenza vaccines, Guillain-Barré syndrome has also been reported as a potential side effect of other vaccines, including Merck and Company's live attenuated MMR mumps, measles, and rubella 2 vaccine. Oh, how about that? As well as hepatitis B, meningococcal polysaccharide, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, and polio vaccines. I never vaccinate Jasper. Jasper never gets the flu vaccine. Every year, flu season rolls around. And I look at him and say, Jasper, no flu vaccine for you. Indeed, most people do not think this could ever happen to them, but the possibility is always there. It is for this reason that mandatory vaccinations are considered by many experts to be a violation of informed consent. You think? You think? Just like fluoride, right? Speaking of fluoride, we're still doing our thing here in Fredericksburg. We have a GoFundMe page, which is on our Clean Water Fred page. By the way, I did an interview with Joan Sefcik, who is an activist dentist. She's terrific. And it's about 15 minutes long. If you want to get into the weeds, into the down and dirty of water fluoridation, Joan has been on the front lines as a dentist fighting fluoridation for 30 years. That's on the Clean Water Fredericksburg page. And if you feel so inclined, please drop a little in the kitty for our GoFundMe so we can get up and running here, get some advertising and do some public events, get people's awareness switched on about fluoride. It is no question that the subject of vaccines is profoundly controversial. On both sides of the argument exist truth and lies that can hinder the ability of some to make rational decisions. But these decisions ultimately fail or fall upon those who would be receiving said vaccines. Removing the ability of the parent or patient to make these decisions is as Orwellian as it is dangerous. As the Free Thought Project reported earlier this year, the Physicians for Informed Consent reported in the British Medical Journal that every year approximately 5,700 children suffer seizures as a direct result of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. To make it accurate and ethical public health decisions, the risks of a vaccine must be compared to the risks of the disease one is trying to prevent. Okay, so I heard this argument the other day. I put this post up on Facebook, and I used a very loaded term. The term was pro-vaccine whores. And what I was referring to, I was referring to people who are parents who are pro-vaccine. I don't believe them to be pro-vaccine whores. I believe them to be thoroughly misinformed, robotic, NPCs, right, to some degree. But I was using that term and referring to professionals, people inside the medical industry, because they've settled close to $5 billion in vaccine injuries. And when you show that to a medical professional who is pro-vaccine, you know what they'll tell you? They'll tell you there's a loophole and a stipulation in the law that allows people to get paid, that it's not the vaccine's fault, it's the law's fault. So I was referring to those people as pro-vaccine whores. Let's just be clear about that. So yeah, I put it up on Facebook, and there was this woman who she's like, oh, that's offensive language. Well, it's meant to get your attention. Language can do that. Language can do a lot of things. It was there to get your attention. And she was caught on the cross of, do I risk my child's life by not vaccinating them? Or do I take the risk of maybe they'll get some manageable long-term condition that I might be able to, work with for a very long period of time. They'll be, less than who they were before they got the vaccine, but hey, they'll still be alive, right? She was wrestling with that question. I don't know. I was born of a different time, and I'm from a different place. Okay, for example, 5% of febrile seizures result in epilepsy, chronic brain disorder that leads to recurring seizures. Annually, about 300 MMR vaccine seizures will lead to epilepsy. So if you're MMR related, you're going to get 300 seizures that lead to long-term epilepsy. Crazy. In the United States, measles is generally a benign short-term viral infection. 99.99% measles cases fully recover, said Dr. Miller, as it has not been proven that the MMR vaccine is safer than measles. There's insufficient evidence to demonstrate that mandatory measles mass vaccination results in a net public health benefit in the United States. So here we go. Let's bring it back to Mr. Morgan. Luckily, Morgan did not die. I guess some more dumb luck just came into play. He didn't die. Dumb luck. After spending 3 weeks in the ICU, he is now home with his family, but he's far from back to normal. He's still partially blind and in a wheelchair. To those who don't think through their medical decisions, the Morgans have some advice. Everybody says it's a coincidence. It's not, Monique said. It's 100% reality, a side effect of the flu shot. You see, it's not dumb luck. I'd rather have the flu 10-1, Morgan said, telling families to do their research before blindly getting shot in the arm. They've got a GoFundMe page. There he is. He's got a patch on one eye. He's got a little baby here. You going to vaccinate that baby? Better think twice about that, Monique. 3 times. Because, it just might be dumb luck that something happens to your child. She's probably sitting there thinking, oh, shit, I gave my kid that vaccine. What's going to happen next? There you go. Just a reminder. Don't get the flu shot. Jasper has been bugging me to read something positive. And I'm going to do that. I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. It's not about cats. It's about hemp. It's about hemp. Every time I talk to somebody here in Texas, and they have land, 40, 50, 60, 70 acres, I tell them, what are you doing with it? We ask, what are you doing with that land? Oh, not much. I got a few goats or cows on there, not doing a whole lot with it. I'm like, you know what you need to do? You need to start growing hemp. Get ready to grow hemp. I'm like, well, what? Hemp? Yeah, hemp. So there's a major hemp revolution about to take place, and it's not a moment too soon. We should have been doing this 40, 50 years ago, but the tobacco industry and the timber industry was far too strong. The tobacco industry started to fade now. Mitch McConnell, of course, who is a senator from Kentucky, who deals with a lot of very rich, powerful tobacco farmers who are losing money because tobacco is generally on the wane. And they're trying to find a replacement crop so these farmers in Kentucky can still continue to make money. So McConnell has become an unlikely candidate to be sort of the Paul Revere of hemp in the Senate. I'm going to read this here. Press for time and push to move quickly on a border wall and a criminal justice system reform. The Senate's top leader has his own priority in Congress's lame duck session, passing a farm bill that includes a full pardon for hemp, the non-intoxicating cousin of marijuana that's making a comeback in his home state. They always pass a lot of like weird shit and dark stuff during the Christmas lame duck kind of holiday phase. That's where the Fluoridation Act got passed. It was during the holiday season, and that's when the Federal Reserve Act got passed. So it'd be nice if we could slip something in there that was actually positive for a change. I'm going to continue to read this. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has guaranteed that his proposal to make hemp a legal agricultural commodity, removing it from the federal list of controlled substances, will be part of the final farm bill, a crucial measure for rural America and Kentucky, where the Republican senator faces re-election in 2020. Oh, there's some expediency here for Mr. McConnell. He places it on a par with federal spending bills as action Congress must take before the end of the year. Keeping that promise would cap a decades-long journey to overcome the stigma associated with the crop, which McConnell himself did not initially embrace wholeheartedly, but in recent years, the quintessential establishment Republican has been all in for the hemp revolution. Good job, Mitch. I bet you've got some money invested in a hemp business somewhere, right? He's like, whoa, you mean if we do this, this, and this, I can make this much? Yeah, baby. Yeah. I mean, it's not just that. He's got pressure. People there need to continue to, make money, capitalize on their post tobacco fortunes. Mitch is going to represent those people. I'm sure Mitch is going to make a little money on the side too. And maybe, just maybe, he's seen the light. Here we go. McConnell put himself on the conference committee assigned to negotiate a compromise farm bill. Work requirements for food stamps, known as the Super Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, have been the biggest stumbling block holding up an agreement. Kentucky has emerged as a leader in developing a hemp industry and as a place for legalizing the crop went from a fringe issue to a mainstream cause. Fellow Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul and Republican U.S. Reps Thomas Massie and James Comer are strong supporters too. But it's McConnell's backing that has put the long ban crop on the verge of winning a full pardon. We're very fortunate to have Senator McConnell as our top advocate in Congress, said Eric Steenstra, president of the hemp advocacy group Vote Hemp. Comer, a leading hemp proponent since his days as Kentucky's agriculture commissioner, likes the provision's chances this year. It's going to happen, he said. Hemp is deeply rooted in Kentucky's past, dating back to pioneer days. But growing hemp without a federal permit was banned decades ago because of its classification as a controlled substance related to marijuana. Hemp and marijuana are the same species, but hemp has a negligible amount of THC, the psychoactive compound that gives marijuana users a high. The crop was historically used for rope, but has many other uses, including clothing and mulch from the fiber, hemp milk, and cooking oil from the seeds, soap and lotions. Other uses include building materials, animal bedding, and biofuels. Hemp derived cannabidiol or CBD oil as a health product has become an increasingly large market. So this goes on and on. I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is great stuff. This is great stuff. Here we go. It's not the first time McConnell has been a key player in potentially transforming Kentucky agriculture. More than a decade ago, the Republican lawmaker helped win the multi-billion-dollar tobacco buyout, which compensated U.S. tobacco growers and others for losing production quotas when the government's price support program ended. Hemp production has spread since its modest beginning in 2014, when 33 acres, there's that number, were planted in Kentucky. Kentucky farmers planted 6,700 acres of hemp in 2018, more than twice last year's production, according to the state's agriculture department. More than 70 Kentucky processors are turning the versatile plant into products. Hemp could lead to a nice little economic revolution in this country. I've been saying this, for the last what? I started talking about hemp, I think around 2011. So where are we now? 2018, last 7 years. Hemp, when you look at the potential for hemp and what it can do and the ability to grow it, it's like a weed, it can grow anywhere. People could basically grow their own hemp, harvest their own hemp, sell it. There are people who can buy the hemp, make products with the hemp. I mean, we are on the verge of something really cool. I think there are, thousands and thousands of millennials that would love to get their hands on legal hemp so they could do something with it, make something out of it. T-shirts, furniture, food. Who knows? This will be great. So, tip of the cat to Mitch McConnell, Mr. Insider, Mr. Establishment. I'm sure he's got some perks lined up, and it's clearly going to be politically expedient for him, or it's going to support him politically in his home state. And that's okay. Get it passed, get it across the finish line. Here in Texas, every year the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have a platform, and so there are all these talking points on their platform. And two of the talking points in the Republican Party's platform here in Texas are the removal of fluoride from the water and the legalization of hemp. Hello? This is the Republican Party. This is a part of their 250-point platform, and it's in there. So we are on the midst of a revolution in this regard. So there's a lot of strange shit going on in the world. There's there's always the daily drama of the Trump reality show. And if you hitch your wagon to that daily drama, it's going to be seismic, right? Your life is going to be kind of its own version of an emotional Richter scale. Don't do it. You can look at it. We can comment on it. At least I do. Kind of see what's going on, watch the social trends. But that's not where the energy is. Now, the energy with Trump, which I talked about yesterday, was the untying of the tongue. And that ultimately now we could have a dialogue, if indeed a heated one, or a one that would be at times contentious, awkward, but still a dialogue. It was like Trump came along and untied the fifth chakra, right? Yeah. People, but people, I mean, the other side of that is people said a lot of stupid shit, both on the right and the left, theoretical. Just because we untie the tongue doesn't mean that it always comes out in a way that makes sense and inspires people to either action or deeper thought, right? Because the left had their own tongue untying too. I mean, you look at people like Alec Baldwin or Rosie O'Donnell, and they're saying stupid shit. It's really stupid shit. Roseanne Barr, same deal. Once you take the governor off, there's no guarantee that it's going to come out, number one, intelligently, number two, with a sense of consciousness and intent. But that's okay. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have people step in their own due because they're saying something, versus not being able to say it. I think that's really important. So this is good. This hemp piece is good. And this is something positive. There are positive things going on. This is something you can hitch your wagon to. And of course we can get cynical. Oh, big business is going to get involved. Corporate America, fine, let them get involved. Let them get involved. Let them go head first into hemp. As long as whatever they do here. Great. Fantastic. Because there'll be a trickle down effect. Small businesses say, okay, let's go. Let's get involved with this. Let's get a hemp farm, or let's buy the product and let's see what we can do with it. I think this is great. Totally great. And I'm telling you, the next hemp zone is going to be right here in Texas. Right here in Texas. If you have land in Texas, I would start talking to politicians. Because if you've got land in Texas, let's say you've got 150 acres, 200 acres. You want to get on the phone, or you want to have a meeting, or you want to have an email exchange with somebody like Ted Cruz, who is of course, a senator here. Say to his office, hey, I've got 200. I'm a landowner, farmer. I've got 200 acres, and I'd like to get on your radar about this hemp thing. Well, Ted Cruz is going to sit there and go, oh, you got 200 acres. Okay, well, that's kind of impressive. Let's have a little dialogue about this, versus saying, hey, I live in an apartment in Austin, and I'd like to have a conversation with you about hemp. Ted Cruz is a lot less likely to have that conversation. He might, I don't know. And I know a lot of people are anti-political, right? But if hemp is legalized, and you got land here in Texas, you'd be sitting on a gold mine. All right, let me check in with the chat squad. Let's see what's going on in the chat squad. What do we have here? Government planned agenda. We don't need government involvement in everything. Yeah, I know that. I get it. But go ahead and try and grow hemp. Go ahead and try and grow hemp. You know what'll happen? You get shut down. You'll get shut down. They'll take your hemp. I've had John Trudell on my show. And John was part of the Sioux Nation, right? Ogallala Sioux, and the Ogallala Sioux were growing hemp on Indian land, and you would think Indian land would be able to grow their own hemp. No, the feds came in and they took their crops. Okay, look, I agree, but how are you go? How are you? Edgardo says keep government out of the hemp and marijuana. Soon they'll genetic, of course, but how are you going to grow it? Because they could come in and steal your fucking plants. At least have a crack in the window, have a crack in the wall, right? You just have, I mean, because what's the alternative? You're going to have a secret hemp farm somewhere? Well, good luck on that. They'll come in and they'll burn it. They'll take everything. They'll burn it down. I'd at least like to have a shot or a crack in the wall right now in order to do something, right, with it versus it being completely stigmatized, outlawed, and banned. That's what I think. That's my 2 cents. Okay, maybe we can have a revolution in the streets and everybody can stop working so that we can have hemp and they can all bow down to us, right? Come on. Let's be real here for a minute. I'm not government is the last thing I want to deal with. Stay out of my life, right? Stay out of my life. But if you could catch an updraft on some hemp legalization, why not? Why not make it happen? I'd rather take my shot that way than, having my crops snatched. Ever have your crop snatched? It sounds a little dicey, doesn't it? Cato, the weed store is almost all owned by attorneys for tech form. Yeah, absolutely. California, it's interesting because Oregon legalized marijuana, right? California's done it. California's going about it a completely different way. California's been denying, sitting on licenses. People have been trying to apply for licenses for a long time. Look, I'm pro growing cannabis. I think you should be able to grow your own, and that's probably about the extent of it. The commercialization of it, I'm not a huge fan of. I am worried about corporate gene patenting. That shit's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But at least get a foot in the door. At least try to do something better in some ways, right? Or at least have the potential for people who are waking up to see that, oh, this naturally processed or this naturally oriented or this naturally grown version of this might actually be better. I mean, we live in an environment now where you can go down to the store and you can get a genetically modified crop. That's happening. You can also get organic vegetables. And I know some organic vegetables are sketchy, even though they're labeled organic. I get it. Okay. But you have two competing models in the marketplace as it is right now. You can go to your farmer's market during the spring and the summer and get locally grown vegetables. You can grow your own. It's not like there isn't a precedent. There's already a competing model in the marketplace. And people can make their choice. I choose not to have genetically modified food in my refrigerator. When I go out, it's a different story. I'm taking my shot, taking my chances. Hey man, I just want to grow a handful for my head. There you go. California Uber Alice. I saw the dead Kennedys. Is hemp oil and CBD oil the same? Yes, it is. They're both derived from the same plant. Yeah. I don't think we can stop this egregore consciousness in some ways around things like genetic modification, transhumanism. It's like it's already, they're way down the path with this stuff. Way down the path, right? And we're going to have to deal with it. And the best thing that we can do is in our own humble way, you know, get a foothold, on the cliff face and create a competing model. And through enough, people that are turned on and awareness, it might actually make a change or a difference. CBD oil is pretty good. It's good stuff. Um, the medical MJ stores were true mom and pop. I, I have a very funny story. So, when I was a kid, high school was a bit of a head, right? And we used to go to this house, and it was like, it was just a regular suburban, kind of tract home. And the guy who lived there was this guy we went to high school with, and we knocked on the door, and the guy who was the right guy running the place was a guy by the name of Pops, and Pops was well, the family was black, right? It was this black family, and so Pops, yeah, he looked like some guy, straight out of the Mississippi South. And knock on the door. Hey, is Pops around? Oh, fellas, come on in, come on in. So we sit down, hang out with these people. Of course, Mom's was there. It was a family business. That was the true first, like, you know, the first true storefront that I ever went to in California was when I was in high school, and it was at Pop's place. And we, take our little stash and go hit the streets. Let's see. Justice said I heard CBD is active ingredient hemp, so I wasn't sure if they have the same medical benefits. There's a lot of education that still needs to take place with CBD. There are small trace elements of THC in CBD, and you have to be in some places you have to be really aware of that and know what's going on. People have been pulled over here in this town, right here. We have our little health food store, and they're selling these, great little CBD products right at the counter. It's like when I first discovered, like, wow, this is great. Somebody got pulled over by one of the local police here, had CBD. I said, oh, well, this has THC. They theoretically did some kind of a roadside test, probably bullshit. And they said, well, where did you get it? Well, we got it at the health food store. They went down to the health food store. They hassled the health food store people. And that's, the cops are there pulling their CBD out. So you just got to be careful. There are some places, that if you are in the wrong place and you got CBD oil, it's still stigmatized, which is why hemp needs to be legalized so we can have CBD oil so people aren't getting fucking pulled over and getting hassled, which does happen. Happened right here. There's no, again, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to deal with government? It's like, oh yeah, but it's the way it is for now. And there's a level of entanglement we're involved in. So, and if this thing gets legalized, I can take the ball and run with it. If you're into it, don't sit back and say, well, it's going to be genetically modified and corporations get involved. Put your pedal to the metal and make something happen. It's America, God damn it. Don't you people have any ambition? Drive? I'm just kidding. All right, I'm out of here. Be back tomorrow with another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame, where we bring you the hot takes for a cold season. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. I'll see you guys tomorrow.